hell I'm doing back here, but I did figure out the bracket, and I don't see any reason why we shouldn't win the national championship or get beat the first weekend. So that's about how crazy I think this year's is. There's some strange things that are going on right now with injuries, almost like in the NBA. And, you know, like you look at, I look at the weekend all the time, and but I look at other teams. I look at Kansas. You know, are they a 4 seed? Are they really a 4 seed with Peterson playing or not playing? You know, and there's some of this going on right now that makes it even more confusing. But as I said last night, the NCAA tournament is an accomplishment. It's you look at, is it true that Auburn was the #1 seed last year overall?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're not even in the tournament. You know, I mean, and probably what I'm proudest of is consistency. I said that about 3 years after we won it, and everybody was ready to canonize our program. I said, let's see if we can be consistent. 10 years from now, we'll figure that out. And we've been pretty consistent, but you know, there's always going to be some peaks and valleys. And I think these past 2 years that we were a 2 seed last year, we were closest to a 2 seed as we could get this year. I think we've been consistent, which means the players deserve the credit for that, because it's the players that have helped me and really made me, and they're the guys that have done such an incredible job of withstanding the pressures that it is to be here. You know, it's funny talking to Cam Ward and Jordan Scott that I hear players telling them in meetings that, you know, you're at Michigan State, and that means there is this pressure. You have to perform at this level. You're expected to be in the tournament. You're expected to go farther in the Big Ten tournament. And those expectations, unfortunately, sometimes lead to like it's a right for you to be there. It's not a right. You've got to earn the spot, and I think that's what we're trying to do. So yesterday we had practice. It was a good practice. I think today we'll have a better practice because we're going to be more set on what North Dakota State does. We've watched a lot of film now. We had an early morning meeting with our players to go over personnel and a few of the edits. Reality at this time of year is to win and go home. I mean, we all understand it. We all know it. It's a harsh reality. We got a big dose of that last weekend, and that's, you know, people ask me all the time, do you think the conference tournaments are good? And I question it. You know, I talked to John Calipari last night, and I talked to him the night before, and he said, you know, we playing in the championship game, and that's the good news and the bad news. Because if we do, and we get shipped somewhere Thursday, it's a problem. Well, sure enough, they win the thing. They get shipped to Portland, Oregon. They play Thursday, and at 10:30 last night, they still weren't out of Nashville because of airplane problems. So there's so many factors. You know, Michigan plays in the finals now. They got to play Thursday. Those are hard realities of everything. But the one thing the conference tournament does do for you is it teaches you that if you aren't on top of your game, that one and done syndrome is a reality. You know, during the year there is no one and done. It might be one and done that you don't win the league championship, but it's not one and done that you're going home. And so I think that kind of helped open some eyes of our young or new guys that have never been in the tournament. But it's the harsh reality of it. About the opportunity of playing in Buffalo, you know, I'm hoping I somehow I get to meet Josh Allen. You know, he's one of my favorite guys. So I heard he has a restaurant there. Maybe we'll go there and eat or something. And Keon, I think is down in Texas working out, but I'm gonna try to call him today, see if he'll fly up. He's got enough money to do that, and maybe be there for us. And one of my better friends, a guy named Pat Morris, who was an assistant here for quite a while with George Perlis, and then he went on to be my buddy Mariucci's assistant at the San Francisco 49ers and the Lions. He retired in Buffalo after a little stint with them, and so he'll be there. So we'll have one fan there anyway that I know of. If Keon can make it, we'll have two. But I think going to Buffalo is fine with me. You know, it should be like home. I heard we're gonna get a lot of snow. That'll be good. So all good for Buffalo as far as Tom Izzo's concerned. Our staff got a lot of work done last night. Spent most of the night digging into North Dakota State. We did have the other two assistants preparing for the other two teams that we could play if we get by North Carolina State. But they create some challenges. They play, it's an 8-man roster. They're playing 8 guys. 6 of them can shoot threes. They got a couple guards that can really shoot it. And they got one big guy who can really shoot it. The Wheeler Thomas, Stefanowicz, and Carson are knockdown shooters. They're all shooting 40% or more from the 3. Where do upsets happen? Most of the time when people get hot from the 3. So is that concerning? Hell yes, it's concerning. But it makes them dangerous. They seem well coached. They play good defensively. They turn people over a little bit. They don't turn the ball over. They won their conference championship outright, and then they won their conference tournament. So that means, you know, they're not resting on any laurels. I thought they did a hell of a job on that. I've watched about 3-4 games now, and I'll see some more before I go to practice. They're solid on the boards, and like I said, their turnovers that they create and turnovers that they have are a definite plus for them. So all hands on deck that we'll be looking forward to not only playing them, not only playing well against them, but improving on some things that we think we haven't done quite as good a job of lately. And if you look at all these teams, you know, Purdue's probably the best example lately. You know, everybody had them pronounced dead 2.5 weeks ago, and they're playing their best basketball now. Everybody goes through peaks and valleys. I know Jackson Cooper went through a tough shooting stretch there for, 4 or 5 games, and then he started shooting the ball really well. You just hope that your peak is at the right time of the year. And for the most part, we won some big games on the road at the end. Losing to Michigan is no disgrace. They're one of the best teams in the country. And then I don't think I was real pleased, as I told you then, I told you the next day, with how we played against UCLA. And then you watch UCLA against Purdue without Dent or Bilodeau, and it was a 2-point game late. So I think UCLA doesn't get enough credit either. So I'll give us a little blame. I'll give them a little more credit. But when you're talking about our as I looked at took a big picture of the region we're in, with Duke, and not looking ahead at all, just figuring out, what is your bracket. And when I saw St. John's as a 5 seed, I said, oh my God, they just beat the daylights out of UConn, and I have great respect for UConn. And but we have not played a Louisville, and we have not played South Florida, which a lot of people tell me is really good. We have not played North Dakota. But if we get out of the weekend, we played UCLA, we played UConn, we played Duke, so then it changes the other way. So I think our region is maybe the best. I don't think there's that much difference. You listen to the guys that talk about it, they observe it more than I do. They break down every one. And some of them are good coaches who know what they're talking about. But I promise you this, there will be a bunch of upsets, because there always is. And so, you think, wow, I might have to face this team. And like, somebody had to face us when we were in Detroit, and we got upset, We would have had to face Syracuse in 2005 or something, and Vermont upset them on a last second shot, I think in 2009 or 10, we would have had to play a really good Kansas team, and Northern Iowa upset them. It's just, you never know what you're going to get. That's why you got to worry about yourself and see where that takes you, and hopefully you'll do a good job preparing for the team you're playing. Questions?
You bring up the upsets, and you've been on the wrong end of a few over the course of time. And I'm just
On the
wondering,
right end of a few.
Yeah, and when you go to these first round ones when you have been upset, is there any common denominator within your own team that you've learned over time that I noticed this going in, or is it all variables outside your control?
You know, I'll give you the best example of all is the biggest loss I guess I had. It wasn't the most devastating. I think the Detroit one was the most devastating, but when we had Denzel in them, we were playing so good at the end of the year. We had such a good week of practice, and I remember you guys, some of you weren't here then, but I mean the media in general, you know, while you look past them, you look past Middle Tennessee State. I said, we played so good, you know, we shot 50-something in the field, I think 50 from the three. They just shot better. Does that mean our defense was bad? It probably did, but was it from a lack of preparation or a lack of respect? 100% not. And so in its own way, that was one of the hardest losses because I thought we did everything right going in. The meetings were great, the players were great. It was just, you know, sometimes those things happen. I've had a couple where I knew we were struggling going in. One of them was when we got beat at Purdue. You know, we weren't playing great at the end, but we made a little run at the end. We were 13 up to UCLA in that game. It's kind of funny how you remember. I don't remember many of the good wins, but I remember all the bad losses. And you know, we lose it in overtime. And on that game, I thought we did some things wrong after the fact, but not before. So what do I do today? I told my players this morning, all I can do is give you the information I have because you're with a veteran coach. And so that means I've had some incredible highs and I've had a few incredible lows. And trying to figure out, I can only tell you this, the focus has to be at an incredible degree no matter who we're playing. Because we were a 2 seed and got beat by 15, you know? And sometimes the selection, like that year, we should have been a 1 seed. You know, we beat, I think it was Michigan or somebody in the Purdue, that big game down in Indy, and everybody from CBS said, you know, you're going to be a 1 seed, you know, because we had a couple of injuries early in the year.
They took us into the room.
Yeah, they took us into the room, and not only were we that, but Middle Tennessee was better than a 15 seed. Stuff happens. Would it have made any difference if we were a 3 seed and they were a 13? I mean, no, because everybody expects you to win anyway. That was 10, 12 years ago. Now the parity, because of everything that's happened, is 10 times more. So you used to have a top 2, 3 seed and get you out of the first weekend. Now, as we learned with Virginia a few years ago, it doesn't even get you out of the first game. And so that's what I try to tell our players. The problem with telling players stuff as a coach, it's like telling your kids something as a parent. We sometimes don't adhere to it until it happens to us, and then it's too late. And so I really leaned on my juniors and seniors. That's one thing Jeremy's good at. He watches so much basketball that he knows everybody. He's known for 10 years, and he brings up things as I'm talking. You know, it's amazing. And I think that'll help, but I don't want him going in thinking the negative and being scared about it. I want him thinking the positive, that if we play the defense we played most of the year, we're shooting the ball better, we're turning the ball over less. Those are all reasons for success, and we got to build on those, and yet not take anything for granted. Prepare the same way, and see what happens.
Tom, I was wondering about Jeremy breaking the single season assist record from Cassius, and just kind of, you know, his development and where you think he could project as far as all the great point guards that you've had here.
Yeah, you know, it's been amazing because talent-wise, you know, maybe not the same talented team around him, but he's really bought into the break, and he's bought into throwing those lobs, you know, and he's very good in ball screens, and he gets a lot there, and having a pick and pop 4-man like Jax really helps him too. So you got Coop on a lob, you got Cohen on a lob, you got Jackson on a pick and pop, And Jeremy's improved a lot. He's improved a lot with his passing. He's improved a lot with his shooting. He's improved a ton with his free throw shooting from where he was at one time. And I've been saying this for 2 weeks, and because I'm always looking for the perfect robot here, and the perfect robot is, can he drag more people with him, and can he increase defensively? And I would say that's one thing that we really worked on yesterday was the ball screen coverages. And in looking at the film and everything and figuring out, I think it was 3 people's fault. It was our post guys who maybe didn't do quite a good enough job at the point of setting the screen. It was our point guards and our guards in general who didn't do a good enough job pressing up and getting over the screen. And it was probably the coaches and myself's fault that we didn't maybe adjust well enough. We gave up those 3 threes when we cut it to 5 3 times in almost the exact same play. Now we had a different coverage set. We just didn't execute it great, but so I think the beauty of it is I told them we're gonna all take blame for it. And then we're all gonna be part of fixing it. And I think players appreciate that, you know, and so I can look in the mirror and say, you know, should have done a better job, and yet it's funny, I should do a better job when it's that way, but I always tell you guys that, you know, I've never made a shot, I've never made a pass, I've never guarded a guy on the floor. I've tried to get an official's face on the floor once in a while, but other than that, I'm not even allowed on the floor. So, I don't blame anybody for that, but I blame myself when they don't do right, and that's the cool part about being a coach. It's good.
Chris, I wondered about the history that you've had in the tournament and just the time spent in the game. A lot of people talk about this time of year being point guard's time of year. Sometimes you hear big men. What do you feel is there a single trait that allows a team to get deep into the tournament in terms of whether you have elite guard play or elite forward play, and how much does having that balance of being able to go inside and outside help a team march?
Well, I do think balance is important. I do think guard play is the most important because you can't turn the ball over. You're gonna get in these pro arenas and things, or these domes, and it doesn't seem like anybody shoots quite as well, so your defense is more important, your rebounding becomes more important. You get, you know, depth doesn't become as important because they get longer TV timeouts and that. You know, I still think guards gotta be good, but I think having some balance, and that's what I think we have right now. Cooper's starting to score the ball a lot better too, and so we got an inside and an outside guy at the 4 and 5. You know, we've got a slasher in Cohen, and we got to get Kerr and Trey and Jordan shooting the ball well, and then you know, where Cam's got to come in is he should be able to defend anybody, but he definitely can rebound with anybody, and so you're taking care of all those areas. I think, you know, are we the most talented team or not? But do we have the most parts that you need if they're doing their job? We do, and that's why, I mean, some people are picking us to go real far. Some people are picking us to be out in the first round. Unfortunately, I can understand that. I really can. And don't like it, but I can understand it.
I was wondering about Strickland on North Dakota State, played for Dwayne Stevens at Western Michigan. You played him last year. I guess in this unique situation, do you kind of like dig back into the old notes on him, and I guess do you also call up Dwayne and kind of ask for a little bit of help here?
Hell, I am going to call Dwayne today and ask him if he wants to go with us. I'm going to try to get him to come on the trip with us and be around his friends when he goes through a tough time. But, you know, we got enough film on him. We do remember him from last year. He's a great athlete. He's got strength, and he can score it around him. I mean, he's got some hops and everything. But, you know, I might ask Dwayne a couple of questions, but I don't think that that's going to determine, you know, how we cover him, to be honest with you.
Just looking at their roster, I want to say the 27 years of D1 basketball, their guys have played 19 have been with North Dakota State. And I wonder, with that sort of stability and just having guys year over year, if you noticed anything tangible that might have an effect on how they play.
Let's play that again. That's interesting.
So
Right.
their guys have played collectively, whole roster, 27 years of Division I basketball. 19 of those seasons have come with North Dakota State. So the
Together.
majority of it
Yes.
together. Some of them are freshmen, some of them
Yeah.
transfers, NAIA
Got it.
guys.
Got
But I wonder, when you look at them on film, do you see a team that's connected and has played together and
Yeah,
experienced?
you
Or
do.
does that show?
I think they're very well coached too. Unfortunately, I don't know their coach, but I think, you know, they share the ball. They play hard as hell. They have good guard play. And they do look like they get along. The ball is moving. And, you know, but I don't have enough people that I know, you know, back in the day when I was at Northern Michigan, I remember driving over there and scouting at North Dakota and North Dakota State, and then driving back in, you know, in about a 30-hour, and it snows up there a little bit, by the way, you know, and then ironically, my claim to fame is to have two roommates that played and that coached, were head coaches in the National Football League, and Jerry Rosberg, whose son played here in hockey, came from North Dakota State. They won the national championship. He came and lived with Mariucci and I, and when he was working on his master's, he was a GA. So I do have those connections, but those helmet head football guys, he ain't helping me one bit with that team. So I don't know. I guess that was 30 years, 40 years ago. So maybe the team has changed a little bit, but I do know this. If you look at the kid from Purdue who's at South Dakota, if you look at Frankie last year, he was in that league. They've had some very good players in that league that have moved on, and they've had some pros in that league. So to win the regular season and the conference championship, I think we're playing a damn good team who's connected, who's solid, and who's out to prove a point to the world, and those are dangerous teams.
Hey Tom, I got two things for you if I could. Wanted to ask you yesterday, I'm just wondering, you mentioned early on the 2 versus a 3 seed, you're 1 spot away. Any thoughts or opinions on that? It seemed that the chair said yesterday that the tournament final played into that. It seems like years with you guys, maybe has or hasn't, but just wondering if
It
you
is
had
funny,
any
and
thoughts on where you
first
guys
of all, 100% felt like Purdue deserved the right to be that, you know, 100% I do. But you do bring up a good point. I thought 200% we deserved to be a 1 seed, which ended up costing us a lot that year, you know, and, but every year the committee's different. And every year they're looking for things that are important to one committee is not as important to the other committee. But I have no problems with it. I'm, you know, to be the last 2 or the first 3, you know, it does make a difference. But if you get through the first weekend, you know, 2s are playing 3s and 3s are playing 2s, so it really doesn't matter. But I think they did Purdue right because Purdue played 4 games, right? And remember now, Purdue was really good. I mean, they were picked to win the thing, and went through a little bit of a down period. So now I don't look back and say, well, we should have been then, even though we should have been. That's just the way it goes, you know. If it would be you should be in or out, that would be a different story. I'd feel differently. But once you're in, you have just as good a chance as anybody else. And like I said, I've been there when we weren't as high a seed. I've been there when we were a highest seed. And I've had the same things happen, and I've had the opposite things happen. So I'm happy. I think it's good that we're in Buffalo, you know, a little closer. I think what I like best for me is if we could win, you stay in the same time zone, which is always important for teams to, you know, I mean, if we went all the way through, we'd be in the same time zone. That doesn't always happen. And you'd say, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, it is. In this day and age when travel is a little more difficult. I think it was Arkansas last night. I told you, you know, it was 11 o'clock at night. They were still stuck in Nashville, you know, and there is going to be some plane troubles. If you guys have plane troubles, if your group's letting you go, you can always drive. And so could we if it came down to that. So I'm cool where we are. I'm cool with why they got that. I think it was totally earned, not given, and they earned it. Beating Michigan, they earned it.
Also wanted to ask you about it. In good times and bad this year, you haven't mentioned like leadership a lot. In a lot of the seasons I've been here, it's been a thing that you've had to harp on at different times. When you're coming off a game where some of your players are like, maybe we didn't have the right mentality, and you're talking about focus and this time of year and things like, how has that been this year? Because I assume if it was a problem, you would have brought it up more, and it doesn't seem like it.
Well, it's not a problem. It's never as good as I'd like it to be. You know, I think it's part of society. And so, you know, that's where I gotta do a better job in making sure that these freshmen, that you bring them along to become leaders. You know, I think leaders are born more than they are made, but in this time when leadership is lacking for a lot of people, just because people don't want to hear their own voice, people don't want to be confrontational, people don't want to do the things that leaders have to do, but leadership is still needed. So I think it's something that we have to do a better job of. But I don't think it's been bad. I think, you know, I've got 4 really good captains, and they do things in a lot of ways. It's what I said about Jeremy. Sometimes you need them bringing people together, you know, like they all get along. Like Raymond Morgan says, you know, this team gets along so good because he was on some teams that maybe there was different issues, but you still need somebody bringing everybody together. And I think we need a little more of that. And you said it best. I said it when you said what Coop told you guys. You know, that's a flaw. That's got to be fixed. You know, you can't be playing that kind of game. And I don't think they gave no disrespect to anybody. I just think maybe you take your foot off the pedal because you beat them by 30. You know, we should know better than that. But the head coach got to do a better job of that. The assistant coach has got to do a better job of that if we're expecting players to do a better job of that.
Fred? You're right near Niagara Falls. I know you love team bonding. You probably don't have time for that, but have you ever been there?
You know, it's one of the places I've never been. Yeah. So I'll flip a coin if I could spend some time with Keon and Josh Allen. I'd probably take that over Niagara Falls, but maybe I'd get one of those guys to take our team to Niagara Falls. So, you know, that's not a bad thought. It's just that you don't have a lot of time, you know. I gotta figure out how far it is, and you would know. You're
30 minutes. It's less than, it's like 20-minute drive. Big old park too. You can do both Buffalo side and Canada side too.
They let you rent a barrel too if you wanna go over.
You've ever been to Niagara Falls?
No, is that's
Everybody's been there.
Damn.
I've only been there once or twice.
Yeah, he went to school. Did you go to school?
Yeah, just south of that.
Yeah, he went to school south of there, but no, I think that would be one of the neat things to see. I think it just goes to show you, you know, that has everybody been to Niagara Falls?
Yeah.
Yes. No? I love you, man. Please. Love you.
It's a one-night trip.
It's a one-night trip.
Yeah.
But it's something you got to see, right?
Yeah,
It's like the Grand Canyon. You know, you sit there and look at it and all these rocks, but you got to see it once. You know,
When you look
it's
at
like
it,
going to
you
the UP. You guys are missing. How many been to the UP?
I've been to Iron. I stayed in Iron
Yeah,
Tunnel
last year.
Well, you know.
Grandparents.
Yeah,
Canadian
most
side
guys.
is the better side, but the Canadians,
It
it's
is.
a little less tacky.
Canadian side of Niagara Falls.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
better
but then I
side.
got to go through all the. Yeah, so that's not a good idea right now. So I think I'll just. I think I'll work on basketball and try to win a game. How's that? But you never know. Maybe if we win 2 games, I'd try to go over there at the end. Any more?
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
You mentioned travel and different time zones and stuff. Does daylight savings time affect you guys when you lose that hour?
You know, where did we lose that hour? When we played
Indiana.
Indiana, I think. I mean, I don't think that changed us. You know me, I love when I'm practicing, I can see daylight. So that means, you know, now this year, I think we changed a little earlier, didn't we?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
Michigan.
it was the Michigan game.
Michigan game. Yeah, so we changed a little earlier. And I don't think that affects us, but believe it or not, certain guys, it affects a little differently when you get into 2 hour, 3 hour. I don't think 1 hour is effective, but I'm just saying, we have no excuses, so you guys can go at us, because we're in the same time zone the whole time. So if somebody tells you they were sleeping through, you know they're lying, because they're in the same time zone. We got no excuses. I think it's good. I think our whole path is good. Is it hard? Of course it's hard. And you know, again, I really mean this too. It's so different when you've been beaten. Fred and I were talking upstairs, you know, failing is good. It's not good at the time. But you know, to fail once, we're a 2 and a 15, or in Virginia's case, you know, I talked to Tony about it a lot. A 1 in 16, you know, the most embarrassing thing. And then what? A year or two later, they won. 1 year later, they won it. I mean, come on. You know, I wish we could convince our parents that we don't need a 27th place ribbon. You know, when you were 28, so you're the only one who didn't get one. But you know, in the softball game or soccer game or something. But it's okay to fail, and usually you learn a lot from it. You know, and everybody says, I love this saying too, that you know, if you played bad, and it's always good to learn, but still win. That maybe it used to be that way back in the day, you know. But nowadays, I think if you lose, it hits home differently. It's hard to convince people that you didn't play that good and you won. So we just lost, so we should be ready to go for this tournament. And I am looking forward to it. I can't tell you how much it does mean to me to have the consistency that my players have put on me. And it's been different players, and it's someday I'm really gonna get to enjoy that, because it's special. And but what's more special is to win in that tournament, because the tournament, do you guys agree, since we're just wasting a few minutes, is there another sporting event you think is better?
No.
NHL playoffs. Or
NHL
close
playoffs.
rival. But
there's
that's because
seven
of best
games,
of 7.
you know?
Yeah.
Best of 7 is
It's
like,
a whole different beast.
it's not the same, you know. Like I said, the Kentucky Derby is 2 minutes, the Indy 500 is a couple hours, but it's, you know, there's something about Cinderella, there's something about the little guy beating the big guy, there's something about the human interest stories that you all, for the most part in the media, do such an incredible job on. You know, that's my favorite, is watching the human interest stories of each team or players on a team. I think that's phenomenal. And whether it's the Super Bowl, whether it's the Final Four, but the Final Four, you get to get them weekly. And I don't believe that there's something that somebody looks more forward to that's not a fan of that sport than, you know, the March Madness. You know, I don't think. I mean, you can have old people in, damn, Fred, we're one of those people now, so I can't say that. You have people in the homes, you know, they're sitting there watching it. If you have 5-year-olds in school, they're watching it. It covers a lot of people, and I'm just lucky and blessed to be a part of it for as long as I have been. Hopefully it keeps going.
The powers that be are working to screw it up though, so you should make that your new mission instead of NIL and everything. 'Cause
Power-
they're getting really close to screwing this up.
You mean by adding teams?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how to tell you this, because I'm not going to get into it now, but there's no way they can screw it up worse than what they've screwed up. I'm just telling you. I'm there on a daily basis. There is no way they can add 400 teams and it won't be as screwed up as what they.
This is the only thing that brings in everybody though, you know? And if they screw this up,
So
this
if
is a
they-
different conversation.
If they enlarge it, do you think it would?
You need the
Yeah, look
bracket
at-
to fit on like the 64 teams, like right now when it goes to 68, we can ignore the plan. Once you have to count those games in, once the brackets have to be due on Tuesday, all the casuals that love this, that's the risk, I think. You can botch it if you screw this up.
It also
The
ruins
casuals.
some of the scarcity of like, you gotta win your conference tournament, right? You gotta put a run together, it makes things
Just look at
matter
the
a little bit
products.
less.
Now that is an issue right now, the conference tournaments, you know, when you look at, some of the teams, like Miami got in by the skin of its teeth, you know, winning 31 games, you know, and, you know, I just think that trying to, I like it where it's at, so I'm with you, okay?
I
I'm
wanna
a
see
fan of
Indiana.
that.
Indiana's, they can go
Okay,
like.
I'm
we
a
don't need
fan
that.
of
I
that,
don't
but
need
I'm
that.
also, I feel bad that there's injuries, there's situations, there's things that, I know, big deal. So I'm with you, I don't wanna change it, I understand some of the arguments, but I am gonna be strong enough, unlike some of the people that I have to deal with above, to state what I think, or what I like. That's everybody's opinion, but,
It just seems like they're kind of quietly pushing this through here without a lot of pushback. I mean, there's a lot of NIL pushback, there's a lot of transfer pushback, but there doesn't seem a lot of pushback, there's kind of just sneaking it under our noses here, that's.
Really?
That's how it feels and seems, I don't know.
Were you an assistant here when they expanded to 64?
were you an assistant
Well, no,
here
I'm just
when,
trying to remember the time frame. I think
AD
it
or
was right
BC,
around that.
which time did that happen?
No, I think it was right around that time that you got here when they expanded, but I don't remember if it was
Yes.
before or after.
It's like 85, 86.
Yeah.
Went to 64 teams.
Is that right?
32?
Yeah.
From 40.
48.
48.
Yeah.
Oh, it was 48 for a while?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that?
Well, I've only grown up with this, so.
Do you
like,
think, do you
like I
think
said-
it was fair that if Magic didn't tie,
Yeah.
they wouldn't have been in?
No, it's too small for it, it's perfect now.
Maryland
I love
was
you
once
guys.
a top
I
5
love you
team
guys.
and missed the tournament.
Who was?
Maryland was once a top 5 team in the 70s, the ACC. If you didn't win your conference.
All right,
you weren't
so I'm gonna leave on this, vote of hands, who wants it to stay where it's at? Who doesn't? Shit. I'm gonna go to my committee meetings and I'm saying, let me tell you guys something. You're crazy to change it, because my media says it's perfect where it's at,
I
right?
think you can get more done on that than NIL, I'm just saying, I think this should be a new mission.
We've really been successful in the transfer.
Exactly. Time for a
We're
mission.
showing the transfer portal.